Equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. Recall from part 1 of the unit that parallel and perpendicular lines have special slope relationships. Parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. For example, 5 and 5, 1/2 and 1/2. For opposite reciprocals, we might have 2/3 and -3/2. We might have -5 and +1/5. Those are opposite reciprocals. Now that we've been able to see equations in a couple different formats, we're able to work with them to determine the slopes of the lines. It allows us to write equations of lines that are parallel or perpendicular. Determine whether each pair of given lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. In these are both in slope-intercept form. My slope is 3, my slope is -1/3. They are opposite reciprocals, so these are perpendicular. In example number 3, I'm going to kind of skip around here. Neither of them are in slope-intercept form, so we can transform. For this one, I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. So I'm going to have 4y equals -3x plus 24. Why do I put this first? Remember, I'm going into slope-intercept form. Standard is to have the x first. Divide by 4, divide each piece by 4. Y equals -3/4 x plus 6. Slope here, -3/4. For this guy, -4x, -4x. 3y equals -4x plus 9. Divide everything by 3. Y equals -4/3 x plus 3. -4/3, -3/4. They're reciprocals, but they're not opposites. So this is a relationship of neither. The real part of today's lesson is basically to be able to write an equation of a line that's parallel to the given line and passes through a given point. This should make you start thinking, if it's parallel, I know my slope, and I have a point. I should probably use point-slope form to get myself started. In example 5, my line is y equals 2x plus 2. I want it parallel, so I need the same slope. My slope is 2, and I want it through this point. Use point-slope form. Y minus 2 equals 2 times x minus 3. I'm not going to leave it that way. The most common form to put this in is y equals mx plus b. So y minus 2 equals 2x minus 6. Add 2, add 2. Y equals 2x minus 4. That line is parallel to this line and will go through this point. I can verify if I plug in 3 for x, 2 times 3 is 6, minus 4 is 2, which would give me my y value. Let's do example number 7. This one's not in y equals mx plus b form, so I don't know my slope initially. I have to manipulate it to figure that out. I'm going to subtract 12x from both sides. So I have -2y equals -12x minus 18. Divide everything by -2. Y equals 6x plus 9. This b part doesn't even really matter. I'm just looking for the m. My slope is 6. Here's my point. Point-slope form, y minus a -3 equals m times x minus 5. Clean this up. I'm going to go ahead and distribute too. 6x minus 30 minus 3 minus 3. Y equals 6x minus 33. There is your equation. We can do the same thing with perpendicular lines. Remember, we just need the opposite reciprocal. So here my slope is -3, so my slope needs to be the opposite, which would be positive, reciprocal, which would be 1/3. Point-slope form, y minus 2 equals 1/3 times x minus 6. Clean this up because we're not going to leave it this way. 6 divided by 3 is 2, times 1 is 2, it's a negative. Add 2, add 2. My equation is y equals 1/3 x. Those cancel out to give me 0. I don't have to write plus 0. Final example here, number 10. Got to clean this up so that I can figure out what actually is my slope. Negative x plus 12, negative 4, y equals negative 1 divided by negative 4 is 1/4 x minus 3. My slope needs to be opposite, so negative, and reciprocal 4 over 1 is 4. Y minus 5, going back to my point here, point slope form, negative 4 times x minus a negative 2, y minus 5 equals negative 4. I'm going to just change that into a big old plus, so negative 4x minus 8, add 5, add 5. Y equals negative 4x minus 3. Final answer. So, we're going to skip 11 because it's pretty simple. It's just parallel to a line. Number 12 is a trickier one. Equation of the line in standard form that is the same slope as this line. So we need our slope to be 2. I know that's in slope-intercept form. And the same y-intercept as this. So to get the y-intercept, I have to get it into y equals form. Got to get the y by itself, so I'm going to cancel those off. 2y equals 9x plus 8, divide by 2. Y equals 9 halves x plus 4. Y-intercept is positive 4. So I can kind of approach this two ways. I can think about the y-intercept as being the point 0, 4 and use point slope form. Or I can realize I have the slope in the y-intercept, so I can jump to slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b, m plus b. My b value is actually 4. However, question asks for it in standard form, so I have to move my 2x over. Negative 2x plus y equals 4. Not in standard form, take everything, multiply it by negative 1. 2x minus y equals negative 4. Final answer, standard form, a, x plus by equals c. A has to be positive.